The bodyguard I hated is the only one who can protect my heart. The chandeliers glittered above the ballroom like frozen constellations. Crystal caught the light. Diamonds flashed. Champagne shimmered in tall glasses. Valentine's night at the Ardent Crown Estate was never about love. It was about power. About legacy. About who stood closest to the throne of influence. And tonight, Serafina Vale stood at the center of it all. Graceful, controlled, untouchable, and thoroughly irritated. She did not turn her head. She did not need to. She could feel him behind her. 3 steps back. Always 3 steps. Not closer. Not farther. A human shadow. She lifted her champagne glass. The rim hovered near her lips. Must you stand that close? Serafina asked. There was a brief pause before he answered. I must remain within immediate response distance, Miss Vale, Rowan said. She lowered the glass slowly. And what exactly is immediate? She asked. 1 second, Rowan said. She turned sharply to face him. 1 second? She repeated. Yes, Rowan replied. The orchestra swelled behind them. Violins climbed toward something romantic. How unfortunate. Nothing about this felt romantic. You do realize this is a charity gala, Serafina said, not a battlefield. Threat environments do not announce themselves in advance, Rowan said evenly. His voice was steady. Calm. Almost infuriatingly so. She studied him openly. Tall, broad shoulders, still a stone. Dark suit, dark eyes, dark restraint. Rowan K. Former military, elite security contractor. Assigned to her after 3 anonymous threats had arrived within a month. She had burned 2 of them. The third had unsettled her father. Now here he was. The watchdog. You are ruining my evening, Serafina said. If that keeps you alive, it is acceptable, Rowan replied. Guests nearby pretended not to listen. They listened. She stepped closer to him. You do not breathe like a normal person, she said quietly. Do you ever relax? No, Rowan said. The answer was immediate. Honest. It irritated her more than arrogance would have. She folded her arms. I am stepping outside for air, she said. I will accompany you, Rowan said. Her jaw tightened. No, you will not. Yes, Miss Vale. She stared at him. You do not understand the meaning of the word no, do you? It is not relevant to my assignment. Heat rose up her neck. Around them, the music continued. Glasses clanked. Laughter floated across marble floors. But between them, the air felt charged. Fine, she said at last. If you insist on following me everywhere, at least attempt to look less like you are preparing to eliminate someone. I am, Rowan said calmly. She blinked. That was a joke, she said. No, he answered. A shocked laugh escaped her before she could stop it. He did not smile. That somehow made it worse. She turned and walked toward the balcony doors. He followed. Of course he did. Cold night air rushed around her the moment she stepped outside. It was sharp. Clean. Quiet. City lights shimmered below the estate, scattered like fallen stars. She placed both hands on the marble railing. She inhaled slowly. Behind her, his footsteps stopped. 3 steps away. Must you remain that close? She asked without turning. I must, Rowan said. Define immediate, she said. 1 second, Rowan replied. She turned toward him again. 1 second? She asked. Yes, he said. The wind moved between them. You assume danger moves quickly, Serafina said. It always does, Rowan answered. There was no hesitation in his voice. That certainty unsettled her. She looked away first. She hated that. I did not ask for this, Serafina said. For what? Said Rowan. She let out a quiet breath. For someone watching every breath I take. There was a long pause before he responded. Someone already was, Rowan said. Her fingers tightened around the railing. The words did not feel protective. They felt ominous. Wind brushed a strand of hair across her cheek. Without thinking, Rowan reached toward her. His hand stopped midway. He lowered it immediately. Control? Professional. But she had seen the instinct. It lingered in the air between them. Do you ever stop being on guard? She asked. No, Rowan said. Not defensive. Not proud. Just truthful. The silence stretched. Inside the ballroom, laughter swelled again. A group of guests stepped onto the balcony. Warm air spilled outward. Then, a sound cracked through the night. Sharp. Raw. Metallic. Serafina barely registered it before Rowan moved. His arm locked around her waist. He pulled her down hard. Her back hit the marble floor. Glass exploded above them. Screams erupted. Another sharp crack split the air. Do not move, Rowan said. His voice had changed. Cold, commanding, absolute. His body covered hers completely. Solid, heavy, shielding. She felt the tension in him. Every muscle coiled. Ready. More shouting. Alarms blared from inside. Guests scrambled. Rowan lifted his head slightly, scanning the shadows beyond the terrace. Active threat confirmed, he said into his earpiece. East balcony. Initiate extraction. Extraction. Her pulse thundered. What is happening? She demanded. We are leaving, Rowan said. No, I am hosting this. Not anymore, he said firmly. He pulled her to her feet. His grip was steady, unyielding. They moved quickly through service corridors. Security personnel rushed past them. Staff members cried out in confusion. Her heels struggled against polished floors. Her heartbeat would not slow. Outside, a black armored vehicle waited with its engine running. The rear door opened instantly. Rowan guided her inside. Then he entered behind her and shut the door. The vehicle accelerated without hesitation. Silence filled the interior. Heavy. Charge. Her breathing was uneven. She turned toward him. And that was when she saw it. A thin line of blood ran down from his temple. Glass must have struck him when the balcony shattered. You are bleeding, Serafina said quietly. It is superficial, Rowan replied. You could have been killed, she said. That is acceptable risk, he answered. The words struck her harder than the gunshot had. Acceptable. Risk? He had not hesitated. He had not calculated. He had simply moved. She stared at him. The man she had mocked. The man she had tried to dismiss. The man she claimed to hate. He had shielded her with his body. Without question. Without fear. For the first time that evening, she did not feel watched. She felt protected. The realization unsettled her more than the attack itself. Outside the window, city lights blurred into streaks of gold. Inside the vehicle, silence settled between them. But something had shifted. Something neither of them could undo. The armored vehicle did not slow. City lights streaked past the windows like fractured gold. Serafina sat upright, spine rigid. She refused to lean back. Refused to appear shaken. Refused to give him that satisfaction. Across from her, Rowan monitored 3 devices at once. His earpiece murmured low updates. His thumb typed short commands into a secured tablet. Calm, efficient, silent. As if chaos were routine. Where are we going? Serafina asked. To a secure location, Rowan said. That is vague. It is deliberate. She looked away sharply. The vehicle turned abruptly. She did not brace in time. But his hand moved. It did not touch her. It hovered just short of her shoulder, steadying the air itself. Prepare. The turn ended. His hand lowered. He resumed typing. She did not thank him. He did not expect her to. 20 minutes later, the vehicle entered a private underground garage beneath one of her family's secondary properties. Rowan exited first. He scanned the perimeter. Checked corners. Watched rooftops. Only then did he open her door. Clear, he said. She stepped out without looking at him. Her heels echoed sharply against concrete. Inside, staff members rushed toward her. "Miss Vale, are you hurt?" "I am perfectly fine," she replied coolly. Rowan moved behind her quietly. A staff member began speaking rapidly about press calls and social media rumors. Before Serafina could respond, Rowan said, "All media statements will be released at noon tomorrow. No speculation before that." The staff member blinked. "Yes, of course." Serafina frowned slightly. She had been about to say the same thing. He had simply said it first. Upstairs, the private suite had already been secured. Curtains drawn. Surveillance activated. Access points sealed. She stepped inside. The fireplace was lit. A tray of water and medical supplies sat on the table. She paused. "I did not request this," she said. "No," Rowan replied. "You assumed." "Yes." She removed her gloves slowly. "And what else have you assumed?" "That you will refuse medical examination," Rowan said. She gave him a cool look. "I will not," she confirmed. "Yes," he said calmly. Her jaw tightened. He handed her a clean cloth. "There is glass in your hair," he said. She froze for a second. She had not felt it. Without waiting for permission, he stepped closer. Not intimate. Not hesitant. Precise. He removed a small shard from a strand near her temple. His fingers did not linger. He stepped back immediately. "Resolved," he said. She stared at him as if he had crossed a line. He had not. That was the problem. Later that night, security reports flooded in. The shot had come from a distant building. High caliber. Professional angle. This was not random. Rowan worked from the adjoining room. He coordinated with local law enforcement. Redirected private security teams. Reviewed camera footage frame by frame. Serafina remained in the main suite. She poured herself water. It trembled slightly in the glass. She steadied her hand. In the other room, Rowan noticed the tremor on the security feed monitor. He adjusted the thermostat up by 2 degrees. 5 minutes later, a blanket was placed over the back of the chair near her. She did not see him do it. She simply found it there. Near midnight, her assistant called through a secured line. "Miss Vale, the investors are requesting reassurance." "I will speak to them in the morning," she said. Rowan, listening through the secondary channel, sent 3 encrypted emails within seconds. One to the board. One to legal counsel. One to the family office. By the time she ended the call, the situation was already stabilized. She did not know that. She simply noticed her phone stopped vibrating. At 1 in the morning, the power flickered. Just once. Barely noticeable. Serafina looked up. Rowan was already moving. He checked the breaker panel. Verified the generator. Confirmed external tampering. There was none. When he returned to the doorway, she was watching him. "You assume every inconvenience is an attack," she said. "No," Rowan replied. "Only the ones that matter." "And this mattered?" "Yes." She rolled her eyes and looked away. But she did not argue further. Later, exhaustion finally pressed against her composure. She sat on the edge of the sofa. Quiet. Still. He stood near the window. Always near the window. Always between her and the world. "Do you intend to stand there all night?" she asked. "Yes," Rowan said. "You do not sleep?" "Not on assignment." She gave a dry laugh. "That sounds miserable." "It is efficient," he replied. Silence followed. Longer this time. She leaned back slowly. Her eyes closed. Just for a moment. He adjusted his stance slightly. Shifted to reduce floor noise. Dimmed one overhead light. Increased exterior surveillance sensitivity. She did not see any of it. She only felt the room grow quieter. Safer. Her breathing deepened. Steadier. Across the room, Rowan remained still. Alert. Watching the doors. Monitoring every sound. He did not look at her. He did not need to. He would know if she moved. Outside, somewhere in the city, someone was calculating their next attempt. Inside the safe property, every system had already been reinforced. Because Rowan Cade did not wait for threats to return, he dismantled them before they arrived. And Seraphina Vale still believed she was the one in control. Morning arrived quietly. Not gently. Quietly. A pale ribbon of sunlight slipped through the heavy curtains and traced a thin line across the marble floor. Seraphina woke to silence. Not the comfortable silence of luxury. The monitored silence of security. She did not move at first. She listened. No footsteps in the hallway. No staff murmuring. No distant hum of traffic. Just stillness. Then she remembered. The attack. The extraction. The relocation. Her eyes opened fully. Across the room, Rowan stood near the window. Exactly where he had been. One hand clasped loosely behind his back. The other near his earpiece. Alert. Unmoved. You were still there, she said. Yes, Rowan replied. His voice did not carry fatigue. You have not slept. I do not sleep while on assignment. That is unnecessary. It is effective. She sat up slowly. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. She did not rush to compose herself. She did not need to. She walked toward the kitchenette. The scent of coffee reached her before she spoke. A porcelain cup waited on the counter. Steam rising. She stopped. I did not request this, she said. You did not need to, Rowan replied. She lifted the cup. Blah. No sugar. The exact temperature she preferred. How? She asked. I read your file. You read my file for coffee preferences? I read everything. She took a slow sip. It was perfect. She disliked that he had gotten it right. Behind her, Rowan moved quietly toward the security console built into the wall. Multiple camera feeds flickered across the screen. Perimeter gates. Rooftop angles. Driveway sensors. He adjusted one angle by a fraction. Without looking at her, he said, the press is being redirected 3 streets away. She did not turn. I would have handled that. You still can. The implication lingered. He was not taking control. He was reinforcing it. She set the cup down carefully. You assume I require reinforcement. I assume threats adapt, he said. There was no ego in the statement. Only calculation. She walked toward the window. He stepped aside before she reached it. Not because she asked. Because he anticipated. Outside, the estate grounds stretched wide and immaculate. Security vehicles were positioned discreetly along the outer boundary. She noticed them. She pretended not to. By early afternoon, the estate had resumed a strange imitation of normalcy. Staff moved quietly. Meals were prepared. Calls were managed. Seraphina walked toward the indoor swimming pavilion without announcing her destination. Rowan followed. The pool room glowed under filtered sunlight. Water lay still as polished glass. She removed her shoes and placed them beside a lounge chair. You may wait outside, she said. I will remain here, Rowan replied. That was not permission. It was not a request. She gave him a level look. Then she stepped into the water. It rose slowly along her legs. Cool. Grounding. She submerged fully. The world softened beneath the surface. Sound dull. Movement slowed. For a few seconds, she allowed herself to float. Above the waterline, Rowan shifted his stance. He positioned himself near a mirrored column. From there, he could see the reflection of every entrance without staring directly at her. Professional distance. Calculated angles. She swam the length of the pool in long, controlled strokes. He tracked the perimeter instead. Halfway through a turn, her hand slipped briefly against the tile. It was subtle. Barely a misstep. But Rowan had already moved closer. You are fine, she said, pushing water from her face. Yes, he replied. He returned to his position without another word. She swam again. More deliberately now. Aware of him. of his presence, of the fact that he had noticed the slip before she corrected it. After several laps, she rested her arms along the edge of the pool. "You must find this tedious," she said. "Monitoring variables is not tedious," Rowan answered. "And what variable am I?" "The primary one." She narrowed her eyes. "That sounds reductive." "It is precise." She held his gaze for a moment longer than necessary. Then she pushed away from the edge and submerged again. When she emerged a final time, a towel was already folded neatly beside the lounge chair. She did not see when he placed it there. She only noticed that it was warm. Evening settled slowly across the estate. The sky deepened into indigo. Lights along the terrace flickered on automatically. Serafina retreated to the library after dinner. The room smelled faintly of leather and aged paper. A fire crackled softly in the hearth. She selected a book from the upper shelves. The rolling ladder shifted slightly beneath her weight. Before she could steady it, Rowan's hand anchored the base. "I can manage," she said. "I am aware," he replied. His tone held no condescension. Only readiness. She retrieved the book and descended. He stepped back immediately. Not crowding. Not hovering. Just present. She seated herself at the long reading table. The overhead lighting softened. She looked up. "When did you adjust that?" she asked. "2 minutes ago," Rowan replied. "It was harsh on your eyes." She did not respond immediately. She turned a page instead. Minutes passed. The fire popped softly. The estate felt quieter at night. Less defensive. More vulnerable. A sudden gust rattled one of the high windows. Rowan was already moving. He checked the latch. Secured it. Returned to his position. "You react to everything," she said. "I react to what matters." "And how do you determine that?" "Experience." She closed the book halfway. "You speak as if nothing surprises you." "Everything does," he said. She looked at him then. "Properly." "For the first time that day." "And yet you never show it." He met her gaze evenly. "That is not required." The silence between them shifted. Not warmer. Not softer. Just heavier. More aware. She reopened the book. But she did not read the next line. She could feel him near the window again. Standing between her and the night. Not touching. Not intruding. Just there. The rivalry had not faded. Her irritation had not softened. But something had changed in the rhythm of the room. He did not control her. He fortified her. Quietly. Constantly. Without recognition. And she had begun to notice the absence of chaos more than the presence of him. By late afternoon, Serafina had been informed that 3 key investors insisted on a private meeting despite the attack. Confidence must be restored. Stability must be projected. Control must be visible. So the estate dining hall was prepared. Long mahogany table. Crystal glassware aligned precisely. Candles placed at even intervals. No sign of last night's chaos. Serafina stood at the head of the table before guests arrived. She wore deep emerald silk. Minimal jewelry. Hair swept back with deliberate precision. Unshaken. Untouchable. Behind her, Rowan reviewed the room one final time. He checked the silverware placements. Adjusted a chair by a fraction of an inch. Repositioned a floral arrangement that obstructed his sightline to the west door. "You rearranged my table," Serafina said without turning. "Yes," Rowan replied. "You assume I would not notice." "I assume you would." She turned then. "And you did it anyway." "Yes." Her lips pressed together briefly. Then the guests arrived. Polite greetings. Measured smiles. Firm handshakes. Rowan stood several feet away at first. Observing. Calculating. The men spoke in reassuring tones about market resilience and public optics. Serafina responded with calm authority. "We remain fully operational," she said. "The incident has not compromised our long-term objectives." Her voice did not tremble. Her posture did not shift. She was flawless. Then the first course was served. One of the investors gestured toward the empty chair beside her. "And your security detail?" he asked casually. "Will he remain hovering?" Before she could respond, Rowan stepped forward. "I will be seated," he said evenly. The room paused. It was subtle, but noticeable. Serafina glanced at him. "You were not invited to dine," she said quietly. "It is necessary," Rowan replied. She held his gaze for a moment. Then she gestured to the chair beside her. "Sit," she said. He did. Close. Closer than he had been in days. Their shoulders did not touch. But the space between them felt deliberate. Charge. Conversation resumed. Wine was poured. Cutlery moved softly against porcelain. One of the men leaned toward Serafina while making a point. Rowan's hand shifted slightly on the table. Not aggressive. Just present. A reminder of proximity. The man leaned back again without realizing why. Serafina noticed. She pretended not to. Midway through the second course, a server approached her from behind. Rowan stood instantly. The chair legs scraped sharply against marble. The room still. "It is only dessert," the server said nervously. Rowan assessed the tray. Plates, silver forks, no concealed objects. He sat again. Serafina turned toward him slightly. "You intend to rise every time someone approaches me?" she murmured. "Yes," he said. "You are aware that this creates spectacle?" "Yes." She took a slow sip of water. "You are very dramatic for a man who claims efficiency." "I prefer prevention to apology," Rowan replied. Across the table, one of the investors chuckled lightly. "You keep interesting company, Miss Vale." She smiled politely. "I prefer effective company," she said. Rowan did not react. But she felt the shift beside her. A subtle stillness. The evening progressed. Business projections were reviewed. Agreements were reaffirmed. By dessert, the atmosphere had steadied. Confidence restored. Control displayed. When the guests finally departed, silence reclaimed the dining hall. Servants cleared plates quietly. Serafina remained seated for a moment longer. Rowan stood beside her chair again. "You hovered," she said. "I positioned." "You intimidated." "I assessed." She turned slightly in her chair to face him. "Do you ever simply exist in a room without calculating threat angles?" "No," Rowan replied. "And if I requested that you try?" "I would decline." Her brow lifted. "You would refuse a direct request?" "If it compromises your safety," he said. The words were calm. "But absolute?" She stood slowly. Now they were nearly the same height. "Nearly." "You presume I require constant shielding," she said. "I presume someone attempted to kill you 48 hours ago," Rowan replied. Silence fell between them. Heavy. Unavoidable. A candle flickered near the center of the table. Without thinking, Rowan reached forward and extinguished it before melted wax could spill onto the linen. She noticed that. "You extinguish fires before they spread," she said quietly. "Yes." She studied him for a long second. Then she walked past him toward the hallway. He followed. Not touching. Not speaking. Just close enough to matter. The rivalry remained. Sharp. Intact. But tonight had introduced something new. Awareness. Of shared space. Of shared breath. Of the fact that sitting beside each other felt different than standing across a room. Neither acknowledged it. Neither softened. But the seat beside her no longer felt empty. And that was new. The conservatory glowed beneath the glass ceiling. Soft gold light. Muted strings drifting through the air. Carefully selected guests moving in controlled circles. Serafina stood near the center of it all. Poised. Untouched. Impeccable. She wore ivory silk tonight. Deliberate choice. Soft color. Sharp silhouette. She spoke with measured confidence about restoration grants and international acquisitions. She did not look for him. She never looked for him. She simply knew where he was. Until she did not. A subtle shift in the air made her glance toward the far column near the champagne table. Rowan was no longer alone. Vivienne Laurent stood before him. Close. Too close. Vivienne did not respect invisible boundaries. Her hand rested lightly on Rowan's sleeve. Serafina's expression did not change. She continued speaking to the art director beside her. But her attention adjusted. Vivienne leaned in slightly. Her laugh was soft and deliberate. Rowan did not move. He stood still. Professional. Unmoved. Vivienne said something that made her smile widen. Rowan replied briefly. Short sentences. Minimal engagement. Serafina shifted her weight slightly. Her glass remained steady in her hand. Across the room, Vivienne's fingers traced lightly along the edge of Rowan's cuff. The gesture was intimate without being explicit. Testing. Rowan stepped back. Just enough. Distance re-establish. Vivienne stepped forward again. Persistent. Curious. Serafina finished her conversation gracefully. She did not walk toward them immediately. That would imply reaction. Instead, she greeted two more guests. Listen. Nodded. Smiled. Only then did she move in their direction. Not hurried. Not deliberate. Simply part of her natural path through the room. She stopped beside them. Vivienne, she said smoothly. Vivienne turned. Serafina, I was admiring your security detail. Admiration is unnecessary, Serafina replied lightly. Vivienne laughed. I find disciplined men fascinating. Serafina's gaze flicked briefly to Rowan. He did not look at her. He did not look at Vivienne either. He was watching the entrance. Vivienne continued speaking. Rowan answered when required. Nothing more. No warmth. No irritation. No reaction. Serafina stood there a moment longer than etiquette required. Then she inclined her head slightly. Excuse me, she said. And she walked away. No confrontation. No commentary. No claim. The music resumed its soft rhythm. Conversation filled the conservatory once more. But something small had shifted. Later, as guests began to thin, Vivienne approached Rowan again. This time, Serafina observed from across the room. Vivienne leaned closer. Spoke quietly. Rowan listened. Then he stepped aside. Creating space. Ending the exchange without spectacle. Vivienne's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Mild disappointment. She drifted toward another cluster of guests. Rowan resumed his post near the west exit. Unchanged. Unbothered. When the final guests departed, silence returned to the conservatory. Candles flickered lower. Staff began clearing glasses. Serafina moved toward the terrace doors. Rowan followed at the expected distance. Outside, the night air was cool. Still. She rested her hands against the stone railing. He stood a few steps behind her. Neither spoke. After a moment, she said, the evening proceeded without incident. Yes, Rowan replied. Good, she said. That was all. No mention of Vivienne. No inquiry. No accusation. Her pride would not allow it. But as they stood in the quiet night, she became aware of something new. Not fear. Not danger. Awareness of how easily someone else had occupied his attention. How comfortably another woman had stood close to him. It should not matter. He was a sign. Temporary. Professional. And yet. The thought lingered longer than it should have. She straightened. I will retire for the evening, she said. Yes, Rowan replied. He moved ahead to check the corridor before she entered. Efficient. Reliable. Impassive. Nothing about him suggested distraction. Nothing about him suggested temptation. Which somehow unsettled her more. Because if he had reacted, she could have dismissed him. Instead, he remained exactly what he had always been. Steady. Control. Unmoved. And for the first time, Serafina did not resent his presence. She resented the idea that someone else had noticed it too. The estate was asleep. Hallways dimmed. Footsteps gone. Staff dismissed. Only the soft hum of security systems remained. Serafina could not sleep. She had dismissed her assistant hours ago. She had reviewed tomorrow's schedule twice. She had even attempted to read. None of it quieted her mind. So she walked. Barefoot. Silk robe loose at her shoulders. The marble floors were cool beneath her feet. She did not announce herself. She did not need to. He would know. She found him in the west sitting room. Lights low. One lamp lit near the corner. Security tablet resting on the table beside him. He was standing near the window. Of course he was. He turned his head slightly when she entered. "You are awake," Rowan said. "Yes." That was all. She moved toward the bookshelf. Ran her fingers along the spines. Not searching for anything specific. Just movement. He returned his attention to the darkness beyond the glass. After a moment, she spoke again. "The grounds are secure?" "Yes." "The perimeter?" "Reinforced." She nodded once. Silence returned. He did not ask why she was there. She did not explain. She crossed the room slowly and settled into one of the armchairs. The fabric shifted softly beneath her weight. Her legs tucked slightly beneath her. She stared at the fireplace. Unlit. After a moment, Rowan moved. He knelt briefly near the hearth. Arranged kindling. Struck a match. Flame bloomed gently to life. He did not ask if she wanted it lit. He simply calculated the temperature. Returned to his place near the window. The fire crackled softly. Orange light flickered across the room. Across her. Across him. She watched the flames. He watched the dark. Minutes passed. The silence did not feel empty. It felt full. Dense. As if words were present but refusing to surface. She shifted slightly in her chair. The movement caused the robe at her shoulder to slip a fraction lower. He did not look. Or if he did, it was brief enough to be undetectable. After a while, she said quietly, "You do not ever appear restless." "I am," Rowan replied. The answer surprised her. She looked at him. "You are?" "Yes." "You do not show it." "It is not useful." The fire snapped softly. Outside, wind brushed faintly against the windows. She studied him in the firelight. Without the harsh brightness of day, his features seemed less severe. Still guarded. But human. "You were military," she said. "Yes." "And you chose this work after?" "Yes." "You prefer constant vigilance." "It is familiar." The word lingered. Familiar. She leaned back slightly. "And silence?" she asked. He paused a fraction before answering. "Silence is easier than noise." She looked at the flames again. "Noise can be clarifying," she said. "Noise can also be distracting," he replied. She almost smiled. Almost. Instead, she shifted her gaze toward the windows. The estate grounds stretched into darkness. Protected. Contain. "You are always between me and the exit," she said. "Yes." "Even now?" "Yes." She studied him again. "Do you ever tire of being the barrier?" He did not answer immediately. "No," he said at last. Another long silence settled. The fire burned lower. Shadows deepened in the corners of the room. She stood slowly. Walked toward the window. Stopping several feet from him. Not touching. Close enough to feel the warmth of his presence. The glass reflected both of them faintly. Two figures. Side by side. Not looking at each other. Looking outward. After a moment, she said quietly, "You handled Vivienne appropriately." He did not react. "It was not a threat," he said. "That was not what I meant." He looked at her then. Only briefly. "I am aware," he said. Her pulse shifted slightly at the acknowledgement. But her expression did not. I expect continued professionalism, she said. You will have it, Rowan replied. There was no tension in his voice. No defensiveness. Only certainty. She held his gaze for 1 second longer than necessary. Then she turned away. I will attempt sleep again, she said. Yes. She walked toward the doorway. Before exiting, she paused. Without turning back, she said, You may sit. The grounds appear quiet. There was the faintest pause. I will remain standing, Rowan replied. Of course you would. She nodded once to herself. Then she left. The door closed softly behind her. Rowan remained where he was, watching the darkness. But for the first time since the assignment began, the silence no longer felt like duty alone. It felt shared, unspoken, heavy in a way neither of them would acknowledge. The estate slept. The fire burned low, and the distance between them had narrowed by a fraction of a breath. Suddenly the estate went dark. Every chandelier, every hallway light, every exterior beam, gone. Silence followed. Deep, total. Serafina froze in the corridor outside her bedroom. The blackout swallowed the marble hallway in an instant. For half a second, there was nothing. Then she heard him. Footsteps. Measured, fast, control. Stay where you are, Rowan said from the darkness. His voice was closer than she expected. I did not move, she replied. Emergency lights flickered faintly along the baseboards. Dim red strips casting low shadows along the floor. Not enough to illuminate faces. Only outlines. Rowan appeared at the end of the hall. A darker shape within darkness. The generator is engaging, he said. It should have already engaged, she replied. It is attempting to. A pause. The backup lights failed to strengthen. The estate remained half blind. Serafina lifted her chin slightly. This is inconvenient, she said. It is a variable, Rowan corrected. He stepped closer. Closer than usual. The corridor was narrow. The emergency lights left little room for distance. She could see the outline of his shoulders now. The steady rise and fall of his chest. Is this an attack? She asked. Unlikely, Rowan replied. No perimeter breach detected. Unlikely is not reassuring. I am here, he said. The simplicity of the statement shifted something in the air. She did not respond. Another system attempted to restart. A faint hum echoed. Then silence again. Rowan moved past her. His shoulder brushed her arm in the darkness. It was accidental. Brief. But unmistakable. Neither commented. He reached for the wall panel near the staircase. Manual override, he said quietly. She remained close. Too close for formality. The hallway forced it. You designed the system, she said. Yes. And it fails. All systems fail, he replied. That is why redundancy exists. He pressed a concealed switch. The hum returned. Stronger this time. The estate lights flickered faintly, then steadied into low power mode. Dim, but functional. She exhaled slowly. He remained near her. Closer than necessary now. She became aware of something new. Without full lighting, there were no polished surfaces. No perfect distance. Only presence. You reacted quickly, she said. That is the assignment. And if it had been an attack, I would have positioned you behind me. I do not require shielding every time the lights dim, she said. No, Rowan agreed, only when necessary. The hallway remained narrow. He did not step back. She did not step away. The generator clicked softly as it stabilized. Outside, the estate grounds returned to partial illumination. She looked up at him. The dim light cast shadows across his face. Less controlled. More human. For a moment, she said carefully, I could not see. No, he replied. The answer was immediate. Certain. As if the possibility had never existed. Her breath caught slightly at the firmness of it. You are very certain, she said. I am, Rowan replied. A silence settled between them. Closer than before. The air felt warmer. Not from the generator. From proximity. Her hand moved slightly at her side. It brushed against his wrist. Bare skin. Contact. Neither pulled away immediately. The touch lasted less than a second. But long enough. She withdrew first. He stepped back half a pace. Restoring distance. Restoring structure. The power is stabilizing, he said. Yes. She straightened her posture. The corridor felt larger now that the lights were returning. Safer. Colder. I will return to my room, she said. I will escort you, Rowan replied. I know. They walked side by side down the corridor. Not touching. But aware. At her doorway she paused. You moved before I understood what was happening, she said. Yes. She nodded once. That is acceptable. It was the closest thing to approval she had offered. He inclined his head slightly. Good night, Miss Vale. Good night. She entered her room. Closed the door softly. Inside, she leaned back against it. The darkness had lasted less than 3 minutes. Yet the memory of standing in it remained vivid. The brush of his shoulder. The certainty in his voice. The feeling of not being alone in the dark. In the hallway, Rowan resumed his pose. But something had shifted. The space between them had narrowed. Not through words. Not through confession. Through darkness. And the knowledge that when the lights went out, he was already there. Morning arrived clear and bright. The estate had fully recovered from the previous night's power failure. System stable. Security confirmed. Routine restored. Serafina preferred routine. It created structure. Predictability. Control. She dressed with precision. Ivory blouse. Tailored trousers. Minimal jewelry. Breakfast had already been prepared. Rowan was in his usual position near the window when she entered the dining room. Good morning, she said. Good morning, Miss Vale, he replied. She sat. He remained standing. Nothing unusual. Nothing changed. Or so it seemed. Late morning passed in scheduled calls and document reviews. By midday, the estate felt almost peaceful. So she decided to walk the upper terrace. Fresh air. Open space. Controlled environment. Rowan followed at the standard distance. The terrace stretched long and wide along the eastern wing. Stone flooring warmed by sunlight. Low sculpted railings overlooking manicured gardens. She walked slowly. Measured steps. Thinking. Reviewing decisions in her mind. Behind her, Rowan scanned movement across the grounds. Wind moved gently across the terrace. A decorative planter near the far end had shifted slightly during the night. Its base rested unevenly against the stone. Serafina did not notice. Her heel caught the raised edge. A small misstep. Nothing dramatic. But enough. Her balance shifted sharply forward. She reached instinctively to steady herself against the railing. Her palms struck rough stone. Skin scrape. The sound was soft. But Rowan moved immediately. He reached her before she straightened fully. Do not move, he said. His voice was low. Control? Not alarm. Precise. I am fine, she said. Her tone was automatic. Dismissive. He gently took her wrist. Not forceful. Firm enough that she could not withdraw without effort. She still. It was the first time he had held her hand deliberately. Not guiding. Not accidental. Holding. He turned her palm upward. A shallow scrape crossed the base of her hand. Small. But bleeding. You are injured, he said. It is insignificant, she replied. Yes, he agreed. But he did not release her. He reached into his jacket pocket. A compact medical kit unfolded in practiced motion. Antiseptic cloth. Sterile gauze. He cleaned the scrape carefully. His touch was precise. Clinical. Yet warm. Her fingers remained open in his grasp. She did not pull away. The terrace was silent around them. Wind moving softly. Distant birds. Nothing else. He focused entirely on the injury. No hesitation. No unnecessary contact. But contact remained. His thumb steady against her wrist to stabilize her hand. His fingertips brushing lightly across her skin as he secured the bandage. Her pulse shifted beneath his touch. He did not acknowledge it. He finished wrapping the gauze. Checked circulation. Ensured pressure was correct. Then he paused. Not long. Less than a second. As if confirming the injury truly required no further attention. Only then did he release her hand. The absence of contact felt immediate. Noticeable. She lowered her arm slowly. The bandage was neat, efficient, professional. You should observe your surroundings more carefully, Rowan said. The statement was neutral. Not criticism. Not reproach. Observation. She lifted her chin slightly. The terrace surface should be maintained more carefully, she replied. Yes, he said. No argument. He turned toward the shifted planter. Moved it back into proper alignment. Stabilized the base. Removed the hazard entirely. Problem resolved. He returned to his position beside her. Standard distance restored. But the air felt different. Altered. She flexed her fingers slightly. The bandage tightened softly across her palm. A physical reminder. You carry medical supplies at all times, she said. Yes. For minor injuries. For all injuries. She looked at him. You assume harm before it occurs. I prepare for it, he said. She turned back toward the garden view. Neither spoke for a moment. Then she said quietly, You did not hesitate. No. Even for something insignificant. He answered simply, Injury is cumulative. She absorbed that. A strange phrase? Measured. Practical. But something about it lingered. They resumed walking along the terrace. Side by side now. Closer than usual. Not intentionally. Just not corrected. After several steps, she spoke again. Your hands are steady, she said. Yes. Always? Yes. She nodded once. Then said nothing more. That afternoon, she signed documents in the study. Turned pages. Held a pen. Each movement reminded her of the bandage across her palm. Not painful. Just present. Across the room, Rowan monitored the security feed. But once, briefly, his gaze moved to her hand. Then away again. Professional. Contain. Evening approached quietly. Dinner was uneventful. Conversation minimal. Routine intact. Yet something subtle had shifted in the rhythm between them. Touch had occurred. Necessary. Control. Unavoidable. And now absence of touch felt defined. That night, as she prepared to retire, she paused near the doorway. Without turning, she said, The bandage is secure. Yes, Rowan replied. It was unnecessary to respond so quickly. No, he said calmly. A brief silence. Then she added, Thank you. The words were quiet. Measured. Deliberate. He inclined his head slightly. You are welcome. She entered her room. Closed the door. Inside, she looked at her palm again. Clean white gauze against her skin. Evidence of contact. Brief. Professional. But undeniable. In the hallway, Rowan resumed his post. Yet for the first time since the assignment began, he was aware of the precise warmth of her skin against his hands. Not distracting. Not disruptive. Simply recorded. File. Present. And neither of them would mention it again. By late morning, Rowan informed her that remaining at the estate was no longer optimal. There is increased digital surveillance attempting to map the perimeter, he said. She did not look up from the document she was reviewing. You are certain? Yes. Then we relocate. No argument. No resistance. He had earned that much. The departure was quiet. No announcement. No farewell from staff. No spectacle. By noon, the estate gates closed behind the armored vehicle. The city receded slowly in the rearview mirror. Serafina sat opposite Rowan in the back cabin. A narrow space. Close enough to hear each breath if the engine softened. She held a tablet in her hands. Contracts. Press strategy. Damage containment. She worked with deliberate precision. Across from her, Rowan monitored surveillance feeds. 3 screens mounted discreetly along the interior panel. GPS grid. Live perimeter mapping. Encrypted radio chatter. He looked exactly as he always did. Controlled. Alert. Immovable. Except he blinked more slowly. Just once. Barely noticeable. She noticed. The vehicle merged onto the highway. Concrete replaced marble. Noise replaced music. Silence settled between them. After 40 minutes, she lowered the tablet. You calculated increased digital surveillance, she said. Yes. Patterned? Yes. Organized? Yes. She held his gaze. Escalating? A fractional pause. Yes. There it was. Not panic. Not alarm. But inevitability. She leaned back slightly. You should have informed me sooner. You were stabilizing investors. I can stabilize 2 things at once. Yes. No apology. No defensiveness. Just agreement. Another hour passed. The city dissolved into open road. Buildings gave way to fields. Fields gave way to tree lines. The air felt different, even through reinforced glass. Less crowded. More watchful. Rowan shifted slightly in his seat. Not discomfort. Adjustment. She watched his hands. Steady. But the veins stood out more sharply beneath his skin. You have not slept adequately, she said. I slept. For how long? Enough. That is not quantitative. He did not answer immediately. 2 hours, he said finally. Across how many days? Silence. She did not press. Her pride would not allow interrogation to sound like concern. She picked up her tablet again. But she did not resume reading. Outside, the road narrowed. The driver turned onto a secondary highway. Fewer vehicles now. More trees. The vehicle jostled slightly over uneven pavement. Rowan leaned forward, studying the forward camera feed. For a brief moment, his eyes closed. It was less than a second. But long enough. She felt it like a physical shift in the air. You may recline, she said. I'm fine. That was not phrased as permission. A small silence. Then he adjusted. Not fully resting. Just lowering the angle of strain. She returned her gaze to the window. As if the instruction had been procedural. Not personal. 2 hours into the drive, rain began. Not violent. Steady. Gray sky pressing down over the forested highway. The world narrowed into wet asphalt and blurred green. The rhythmic sweep of the wipers filled the vehicle. Serafina set her tablet aside completely now. She watched him instead. His focus remained unbroken. But fatigue revealed itself in small ways. A slight tightening of his jaw. A delayed breath. A slower shift of posture. You anticipate escalation, she said quietly. Yes. And you remain awake for it. Yes. Even when we are in motion. Yes. The repetition almost irritated her. Almost. She leaned forward slightly. If you collapse from exhaustion, she said, you become inefficient. I will not collapse. Certainty is not immunity. His eyes flicked to hers. Brief. Sharp. Then forward again. I manage variables, he said. And yourself? She asked. A pause. I am included. She did not believe that. But she said nothing. The rain thickened. The road curved upward into mountainous terrain. Signal bars weakened on his screen. He tapped rapidly through encrypted communication channels. For a moment, static filled the cabin. The vehicle slowed. Signal loss is temporary, he said. To what degree? She asked. 7 minutes maximum. And if it is not? I adapt. Always that word. Adapt. Adjust. Prepare. She studied him in the dim gray light. For the first time since the assignment began, she saw something beneath the armor. Not weakness. Strain? The cost of constant vigilance. The vehicle climbed higher. Trees grew denser. Roads narrowed further. The world felt smaller. Contain? And for the first time, she understood something quietly unsettling. If something happened out here, there would be no crowd. No staff. No quick reinforcements. Only him. The safe house emerged at the end of a private forest road. Concrete and glass embedded into the hillside. Minimal design. Strategic angles. Invisible from a distance. The rain softened to mist as they arrived. Rowan exited first. He moved with practiced precision. Scanning the tree line. Checking elevation points. Verifying thermal overlays. Seraphina stepped out only when he opened her door. The air was colder here. Cleaner. The forest smelled of wet pine and soil. It was too quiet. Inside, the house felt smaller than the estate. Open living area. 2 bedrooms. Glass walls facing the forest. No grand halls to create distance. No ballroom to hide tension. Just shared air. Rowan moved through the interior with methodical efficiency. Generator check. Camera alignment. Window seal verification. His steps were slightly heavier now. Barely audible, but present. She stood near the center of the living room. Watching. He reached the far window and paused briefly. One hand braced against the frame. Just for a second. Then release. You will rest, she said. It was not soft. It was not concerned. It was administrative. I will rotate rest intervals, he replied. That is insufficient. His jaw tightened. I will rest after perimeter clearance. You will rest before dusk, she said. Silence stretched. Rain tapped faintly against the glass. The forest shifted in slow motion beyond the windows. Finally, he said, 1 hour. A concession. Minimal. But real. She inclined her head. Acceptable. He moved down the hallway toward the spare bedroom. The door closed quietly behind him. And suddenly, the house felt different. Larger. Emptier. The space he occupied was gone. And she felt it. Not fear. Not vulnerability. Absence. She walked slowly to the west-facing windows. Closed the blinds. The motion felt louder without him standing nearby. She listened. No footsteps. No movement. Just the faint hum of backup systems. She told herself she was not monitoring him. She was assessing structural quiet. That was all. After several minutes, she moved toward the hallway. Stopped halfway. Her pride anchored her feet to the floor. She would not check. She returned to the kitchen instead. Poured water. Sat at the wooden table. The rain intensified briefly. Thunder rolled faintly across distant hills. For a moment, the lights flickered. Her pulse shifted. She glanced down the hallway. The bedroom door remained closed. He was resting. And she realized something she had not expected. When he was not standing guard, the world felt less defined. An hour passed. Then the bedroom door opened. Rowan stepped back into the living area. Posture straightened. Expression restored. But the sharpness of fatigue had softened. You rested, she said. Yes. Effective? Yes. She nodded. Good. He resumed position near the window. Between her and the forest. Between her and whatever waited beyond it. But now she watched him differently. Measured his breathing. Counted the steadiness of his stance. And he noticed. He did not comment. He did not thank her. He simply adjusted slightly closer to the window, as if to reassure without words. Outside, the rain slowed. Mist curled through the trees. The house in the forest stood isolated, contained, and for the first time since this began, they were not just protector and protected. They were two people in the middle of nowhere, with only each other between safety and silence. The forest grew louder at night, not in volume, in awareness. Wind moved through the trees in low currents. Branches shifted. Wood settled within the cabin walls. Inside the safe house, all lights were dim. Only perimeter sensors glowed faintly along the exterior panels. Serafina retired earlier than usual. The long drive had pressed exhaustion into her bones. But sleep did not come easily. The bed felt unfamiliar. The room smaller than her estate suite. The forest too close to the windows. She lay still, listening. The memory of the gale flickered behind her eyelids. Shattering glass. The sharp crack of gunfire. His arm around her waist. Her palm tightened against the sheets. She forced her breathing to steady. Eventually, sleep took her. The dream did not begin with violence. It began with silence. She stood in the ballroom again. Empty. No guests. No music. The chandeliers flickered faintly. The floor beneath her felt unstable. She turned. The balcony doors were open. Wind tearing through silk curtains. Then the sound? Sharp, metallic. Closer this time. She tried to move. Her feet would not respond. The floor cracked beneath her heels. The chandelier above her trembled. Then darkness swallowed the room whole. In the living area of the safe house, Rowan stood near the window. The forest was barely visible beyond the glass. His tablet rested on the kitchen counter behind him. Perimeter secure. Thermal scans clear. Routine stable. Then he heard it. Not a scream. Not a cry. A change in breathing. Subtle. But wrong. Through the thin hallway wall, he heard the shift. Sharp inhale. Uneven exhale. He turned his head toward the corridor. Listen. There it was again. Control. Suppress. Distress. He moved without sound. Down the hallway. Stopped outside her door. He did not knock. He did not enter. He stood there. Listening. Inside, her breathing quickened. Then slowed. Then quickened again. She was not calling for help. She was fighting something silently. His hand hovered near the door handle. He did not touch it. If he entered without invitation, he crossed a line. If he remained distant, he risked. He remained. Still. Present. Inside the room, the dream fractured. She was no longer in the ballroom. Now she stood alone on the terrace. The railing was gone. The drop beneath her endless. She tried to step back. There was nowhere to step. A voice echoed behind her. Come, steady. I am here. She turned. But no one stood there. The wind grew louder. The ground beneath her gave way. She fell. Her eyes snapped open. Darkness. Silence. The forest beyond the window. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Her breathing uneven. She did not move immediately. She listened. And she heard something. Not inside the room. Outside it. A presence. Still. Steady. Her pulse shifted. She sat up slowly. The hallway light beneath the door frame cast a thin line across the floor. A shadow crossed it. Subtle. Motionless. He was there. She knew it without question. He had her. Of course he had. She rose from the bed. Walked toward the door. Stopped just short of opening it. Her pride held her in place. She would not invite him in. She would not admit weakness. Instead, she spoke through the door. I am awake, she said. There was no delay in his response. Yes. That was all. No questions. No demand for explanation. Her breathing steadied. You may return to your post, she said. I am at my post, Rowan replied. Silence. The words settled between them. She closed her eyes briefly. The forest wind shifted again. I did not require assistance, she said. I did not enter, he answered. Another silence. He had heard. He had come. He had not crossed the threshold. The respect in that restraint felt deliberate. She rested her palm lightly against the door, not opening it, just feeling the solid barrier between them. You do not sleep, she said quietly. Not fully, he replied. For how long were you standing there? A pause. Long enough. Her throat tightened slightly. She swallowed it down. You may stand elsewhere, she said. Yes. He did not move immediately. Neither did she. For several seconds, they remained separated by wood and air. Close. But contained. Then she heard his footsteps retreat. Measured. Control. Returning to the living area. She remained by the door longer than necessary. Then she returned to bed. This time, sleep came without images. In the living room, Rowan resumed position near the window. But his posture had shifted slightly. Not in vigilance. In awareness. She had not called for him. She had not opened the door. But she had spoken. And she had known he was there. Outside, the forest remained quiet. Inside, something had changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly. But now the space between their rooms felt intentional. Not accidental. Not distant. Guarded. Shared. By mid-afternoon, Rowan detected irregular signal interference near the north perimeter. Not a breach. Not yet. But deliberate. The forest no longer felt empty. It felt watched. He did not tell her immediately. He adjusted external sensors first, increased thermal sensitivity, shifted camera angles, closed 2 exterior blinds without explanation. Serafina noticed. You are altering visibility, she said. Yes. For what reason? Preventative. She set down her pen. That is not specific. It does not need to be. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You are withholding information. I am filtering it. Silence stretched. The rain from earlier had stopped. Mist hovered low between the trees. The forest looked calm. Too calm? Rowan, she said evenly, I do not tolerate partial answers. His jaw tightened. There is signal interference, he said. Intermittent. Patterned. Source? Unclear. Threat level? Undetermined. She rose slowly from the table. Walked toward the window. He moved at the same time. Instinct. Positioning himself between her and the glass. She stopped. Looked at him. You are blocking my view. Yes. I can assess a forest. No. The word landed harder than usual. Not controlled. Not measured. Sharp. Her spine straightened. Step aside, she said. No. Silence slammed into the room. It was the first time he had refused her without neutrality. This was different. There was heat in it. She stepped closer. You do not command me, she said quietly. I protect you, he replied. And protection does not require obstruction. It does today. His voice was lower now. Rougher. The forest shifted in a sudden gust of wind. Somewhere beyond the tree line, a branch snapped. Rowan's head turned instantly toward the sound. His hand moved without thinking. He caught her wrists. Pulled her 2 steps back from the glass. The movement was swift. Firm. Too firm. Her breath caught. Not from pain. From proximity. His hand remained around her wrist. Strong. Unyielding. The bandage on her palm brushed against his skin. You are not going near the glass, he said. It was not a suggestion. Not a professional tone. It was something else. Possessive. Protective to the point of force. She looked down at his hand. Then up at him. You are gripping me, she said. A bee? Then he released her immediately. As if burn? I apologize, he said. But the apology did not erase what had just happened. He had not calculated that touch. He had reacted. And in that reaction, something raw had surfaced. I did not request to be handled, she said. You did not request the interference either, he replied. There was tension in his breathing now. Visible. For the first time, he did not look entirely composed. Rowan, she said quietly, you are overcorrecting. Yes. The admission came too fast. Too honest. Silence again. Heavy. The forest seemed to lean closer against the glass. You believe this is escalating, she said. Yes. And you believe I am the variable most at risk. Yes. She stepped forward again. Not toward the window. Toward him. You cannot cage me in anticipation of danger. His gaze dropped to her wrist briefly. Then back to her face. I will cage you if it keeps you alive, he said. The words were low. Intense. Unfiltered. Her pulse shifted sharply. The air between them tightened. Is that professional? She asked. No. There it was. No deflection. No calculation. Just truth. Something moved behind his eyes. Not fear. Not anger. Something closer to desperation. I do not fail assignments, he said. You have said that before. Yes. This sounds different. It is. Another branch snapped outside. Closer this time. His body shifted again, instinctively stepping between her and the sound. She placed her hand on his chest to stop him from moving further. The contact was deliberate. His breath stalled. Her palm pressed flat against the steady strength beneath his shirt. You cannot shield me from everything, she said. I can try. You are trying too hard. His jaw tightened. You are not expendable, he said. The words came out sharper than he intended. And that was the moment everything shifted. Not expendable. Not client. Not assignment. She did not move her hand. And what am I? She asked softly. He looked at her as if answering would fracture something irreparable. The forest fell silent outside. The entire world seemed to wait. You are the responsibility I will not lose, he said. It was not romantic. It was not poetic. But it was possessive. Absolute. Her fingers curled slightly against his chest. You are crossing lines, she said. Yes. Do you intend to step back? No answer. His eyes dropped to her hand, then slowly lifted back to hers. No. The word settled between them like flame catching dry air. Outside, the interference signal spiked briefly on his tablet. He ignored it. For 1 second too long. Her breath slowed. You are forgetting the perimeter, she murmured. I am aware. Then release the line you are drawing. He leaned slightly closer. Not touching. But close enough that she felt the heat of him. I will not lose you, he said quietly. The possessiveness was no longer hidden. It was contained. But real. Her pulse thundered now. You cannot guarantee that, she said. No, he admitted. But I will make it impossible. The tension became unbearable. A thin thread stretched between them. One move and it would snap. Or ignite. Her hand slid slightly higher on his chest. Not intentional. Not accidental. His breath shifted. For a fraction of a second. He almost closed the distance. Almost. Instead, he stepped back. Horror. Professional armor slamming back into place. I will secure the north perimeter, he said. His voice was tight. Controlled again. But change. She stood where she was. Heart unsteady. Hands still warm from contact. He moved toward the door. Before exiting, he paused. Without turning, he said, "Do not approach the windows." This time, it was not an order. It was a plea disguised as one. She did not answer. The door shut behind him. Outside, the forest absorbed him. Inside, the safe house felt smaller. Closer. Charge. And for the first time, the line between protection and possession had blurred beyond recovery. Rowan returned from the north perimeter 10 minutes later. No breach. No visible intruder. But the interference had not stopped. It pulsed in irregular waves across his monitoring system. Intentional. Testing. Inside the cabin, Serafina had not moved far from where he left her. She stood near the long wooden table, hands resting lightly against its edge. Composed, but alert. "You found nothing," she said. "Nothing visible," Rowan replied. "That is not reassuring. It is information." Silence lingered. The forest pressed against the glass in dim afternoon light. Cloud cover thickened above the trees. The house felt smaller now, more enclosed. She stepped closer to him. "You reacted disproportionately," she said. "Yes." The admission came without resistance. "You gripped me." "Yes." "You refused to move." "Yes." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Are you aware of how that appears?" "Yes." "And?" His jaw tightened. "And I do not regret it." The air shifted. "Charge." "You are crossing boundaries," she said quietly. "Yes." "And you believe that is acceptable?" "No." "Another B." "But I will do it again." Her breath stilled. "You presume authority that is not yours." "I presume necessity." "That is convenient." "It is accurate." She stepped closer. Close enough that the distance between them was no longer formal. "You are not allowed to decide what risks I take," she said. "I am if those risks involve you. That is not your choice. It is when someone is hunting you." The word landed heavily. Hunting. The forest outside seemed to lean closer. "You are letting fear dictate control," she said. "No," he replied. "I am letting experience dictate prevention." She held his gaze. "And what does experience dictate now?" "That I keep you within reach." The honesty in his voice was no longer disguise. It was direct. Possessive. Her pulse quickened. "And if I refuse?" she asked. His eyes dropped briefly to her lips, then returned to her eyes. "You will not," he said. The confidence in that statement struck something deep inside her. She should have stepped back. She did not. Instead, she tilted her chin slightly. "That sounds dangerously certain." "It is." The silence between them tightened. Thick. Heavy. The interference signal on his tablet pulsed again. A soft tone echoed in the background. He ignored it. She noticed. "You are neglecting the perimeter," she murmured. "I am aware." "You do not appear to be." His voice lowered. "I am choosing to prioritize." "And I am the priority?" "Yes." There was no hesitation now. No professional tone. Just truth. Her fingers curled slightly at her sides. "You are becoming reckless." "No." "Yes." She took one more step forward. Their bodies were inches apart. His breath brushed against her cheek. Warm. Control. But not steady. "You do not control me," she whispered. "No." "Then why do you stand as if you do?" "Because I do not trust the world with you." Her breath caught. The words were not polished, not rehearsed. They were instinct. Raw. "You are not the world," she said. "No." "Then step back." He did not move. The space between them felt electric. If one of them shifted even slightly, it would break. Her hand lifted. Not to push him. Not to strike. Just to test. Her fingers brushed lightly against the front of his shirt. The contact was soft. Deliberate. His breath faltered. The restraint in him tightened visibly. "You are challenging me," he said quietly. Yes. Do not. Why? Because I am already restraining more than you realize. The honesty hit harder than anger would have. She did not lower her hand. Instead, she slid it slightly higher. Over his chest. He closed his eyes for a fraction of a second. That was all the invitation she needed. Her other hand rose. Brushed his jaw lightly. Testing. Measuring. His hand came up. Wrapped gently around her wrists. Not forceful. But firm. Serafina, he said. It was the first time he had used her name without title. It landed between them like impact. She inhaled sharply. What? She whispered. This is not control, he said. It feels like it. It is restraint. From what? From crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. Her pulse thundered now. Perhaps the line is already gone. His hand tightened slightly at her wrist. Not painful. Just grounding. You do not understand what happens if I stop restraining. Then show me. The challenge was quiet. Deadly. He leaned in. Slowly. Deliberately. His forehead almost brushed hers. His breath mingled with hers. Her eyes did not close. Neither did his. The world narrowed to breathe. Pulse. He lowered his gaze to her lips. Just barely. She did not step away. She did not speak. The interference alarm spiked sharply. Loud. Shrill. Breaking the moment like glass. Rowan pulled back instantly. Armor snapping into place. He released her wrists. Turned sharply toward the tablet. Signal spike, he said. Professional tone restored. Cole. Focus. She remained where she stood. Breathing uneven. The space where he had almost kissed her felt hollow. He tapped rapidly through system overlays. Thermal anomaly north tree line, he said. Human? She asked. Possibly. His voice was steady again. But something had changed. The line had been crossed. Even without the kiss. He moved toward the door. Paused briefly. Did not look back. Do not approach the windows, he said. This time. It sounded strained. Not commanding. Strain? The door closed behind him. The forest swallowed him again. Inside, Serafina touched her lips lightly. Not because he had kissed her. But because he had almost. And almost. Was worse. Rowan did not return immediately. The forest swallowed sound. The safe house felt suspended in waiting. Serafina remained where she stood. Heart unsteady. Breath not yet aligned with reason. She should have stepped back sooner. She should have restored distance. Instead, she was still standing in the space where he had almost closed the final inch. The tablet on the counter continued to pulse. Thermal anomaly. Signal interference. A reminder that the world still existed beyond their breath. Minutes passed. Then the secure line rang. Sharp. Clinical. Cutting through everything. Serafina turned toward it first. Rowan's voice came through her earpiece before she could reach the device. Hold position, he said quietly. The front door opened seconds later. He entered. Control. Focus. No visible breach. He moved directly to the tablet. Answered the incoming call. A distorted voice filtered through encrypted signal. Interference source identified, the voice said. Unauthorized environmental mapping drone. Not targeted. Wide area sweep. Signal has disengaged. Rowan's jaw tightened. Confirm no direct lock? He asked. Confirmed. Sweep redirected south. No current threat to your coordinates. A pause. Continue monitoring, Rowan said. The line ended. Silence returned to the safe house. Thick. Unavoidable. Serafina studied him. So she said evenly, we are not being hunted. Not at this time, Rowan replied. You overcorrected. Yes. He did not deny it. You ignored the perimeter. Yes. And nearly. She stopped herself. He looked at her. Waiting. And nearly what? He asked. Her pulse shifted again. Nothing, she said. The word felt false in the air. He stepped closer. Not as aggressively as before, but deliberately. You challenged me, he said. Yes. You knew what would happen. Yes. The honesty was sharp, unflinching. You intended to test my restraint, he said. I intended to understand it. And now you do? Not fully. Silence pressed between them again. The forest outside had gone still. No wind. No rain. Just quiet. You were willing to cross the line, she said. Yes. The word came without defense. Without excuse. And you would have? She asked. Another pause. Yes. The room felt smaller. Closer. What stops you now? She asked. He exhaled slowly. Discipline, he said. And if discipline fails? His eyes darkened slightly. It does not. The tension did not lessen. It shifted. From he to gravity. You believe this is manageable, she said. It must be. And if it is not? He did not answer immediately. Instead, he stepped back, restoring professional distance. Then I request reassignment, he said. The words landed like impact. Her expression did not change. But something tightened in her chest. You would leave, she said. If I cannot remain objective. And are you objective now? A B? No. The honesty was almost brutal. Her hand curled slightly at her side. And yet you remain. Yes. Why? He held her gaze. Because the risk of distance is greater. The words were not romantic. They were strategic. And yet they carried weight. She looked toward the window. The forest had returned to stillness. No threat? No alarm. Just them. You nearly lost control, she said quietly. Yes. And you blame me? No. Another pause. I blame proximity, he added. A faint, almost disbelieving breath escaped her. You could step back, she said. I could. But you will not. No. Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Not explosive. Not immediate. Sustained. What happens now? She asked. He looked at her carefully. We proceed, he said. As if nothing occurred? As if everything did. Her breath slowed. Steadier now. Then proceed, she said. He inclined his head slightly, returned to the window, resumed his position between her and the forest. Professional. Control? But not untouched. She moved back to the table, picked up her pen, attempted to focus. Failed. The safe house felt altered. Not by threat. By what almost happened. The absence of danger only amplified it. Because now, there was nothing external to blame. No interference. No anomaly. No excuse. Just silence. And the memory of breath shared in a space too small to deny. The silence after the call lasted less than 3 minutes. Rowan remained at the window, tablet in hand, recalibrating external scans. Serafina had just lowered herself back into the chair when the first shot came. Not distant. Not muffled. Close. The sound cracked through the forest and shattered the glass panel to Rowan's left. The window exploded inward. He moved before the shards finished falling. Down, he said. But she was already moving. He reached her first. His arm locked around her waist. He drove her to the floor behind the reinforced island counter. Another shot tore through the far wall. Precise. Control. Not random. This was targeted. This was not environmental mapping. This was correction. He pushed her further behind cover. Stay here, he said. You said it was resolved, she said, breath sharp. It was not this, he replied. Another shot hit the exterior concrete. Closer. He reached for the concealed firearm beneath the counter panel. Loaded. Steady. His entire demeanor shifted. No tension. No distraction. Only lethal focus. 2 shooters, he said quietly. Tree line elevation. You can see them? Not clearly. Another round crack. Glass splintered further along the south wall. He moved again. Pulled her lower. His body covered hers. Shielding. Not symbolic. Absolute. You are not going outside, she said. I am, he replied. You cannot see them. I do not need to. His jaw was set. Eyes calculating angles. Timing. Wind direction. He reached into his jacket. Activated a manual smoke deployment outside the north side of the property. Thick gray clouds burst along the tree line. Temporary visual disruption. Another shot came. Lower. Closer. Testing. He looked down at her. For one split second. There was no professionalism. Only something fierce. You do not move, he said. That is not. Serafina. The use of her name was sharp. Commanding. She stopped speaking. He shifted off her. Rolled toward the shattered window. Fired twice into the tree line. Measured shots. Control? Return fire cracked immediately. One round grazed the interior wall and ricocheted. Concrete dust filled the air. He assessed. Counted. Adjusted. Then? A sharp impact. He flinched slightly. Too small for dramatic injury. But wrong. She saw it. Rowan. I am fine. Blood darkened the fabric near his upper arm. He did not look at it. Another shot tore through the smoke. Closer now. Advancing. He stood abruptly. Moved toward the hallway. Secondary position, he said. He grabbed her hand. Not gentle. Not testing. Immediate. He pulled her toward the reinforced interior corridor. Gunfire erupted again. Wood splintered behind them. The sound was deafening in enclosed space. They reached the steel-lined panic room door. He keyed access. Pushed her inside. I am not hiding while you. You are, he said. His voice left no room for debate. She stepped inside. He followed. The heavy door sealed with a mechanical lock. The room dimmed automatically. Bulletproof walls. No windows. Only controlled air and camera feeds. Gunfire continued outside. Muffled now. Contain. He pressed his back against the door. Breathing steady. Blood slid slowly down his sleeve. You are injured, she said. It is superficial. You said that last time. It is. The monitor feed flickered. Thermal imaging showed 2 heat signatures moving along the west flank. Professional formation. This was organized. Not random. He reached for the internal comm unit. Signal we. Forest interference again. They knew, she said quietly. They corrected, he replied. For what? For missing. The words were cold. Not dramatic. Just factual. He looked down at his arm finally. The graze was shallow. But bleeding steadily. She moved toward him. He caught her wrist instinctively. Stay back. You are bleeding. It is not critical. She stepped closer anyway. This is not the terrace, she said. His hand loosened. She took his injured arm gently. Examine the wound. Close-range graze. Burned fabric. Blood. He watched her. Not the monitors. Her. You should not be near the glass, he said quietly. We are not near glass. He almost smiled. Almost. Gunfire cracked again outside. Closer to the east wall now. He shifted his focus back to the monitors. They are probing, he said. For what? For entry points. She tore a strip from the emergency kit. wrapped his arm tightly. Professional. Steady hands. You will not leave this room alone, she said. That is not your decision. It is now. Their eyes lock. The world outside continued trying to break in. Inside, something else locked into place. He reached up. His uninjured hand brushed lightly against her cheek. Just once. Not romantic. Not soft. Checking. Confirming she was real. Unharmed. You stay behind me, he said. She did not argue this time. The monitors flickered again. One heat signature disappeared. Retreated. The other lingered. Then moved. Faster. Closer. A sudden explosive impact hit the outer west wall. The panic room lights flickered. The entire structure trembled. She grabbed his shirt instinctively. He pulled her closer. Shielding. Not calculated. Instinct. If this door fails, he said quietly, you run down the secondary tunnel. Do not look back. And you? I slow them. No. Yes. His voice did not waver. Another explosion rattled the exterior. The door held. For now. Inside the sealed room, breath mingled again. But this time, there was no almost. No testing. Only survival. And something undeniable in the way he held her close. The world had become real. And so had the cost of losing control. The second explosion did not breach the panic room. But it fractured something structural. Dust rained from the ceiling. The monitors flickered violently. One camera feed died completely. Rowan adjusted his stance instantly. Positioned himself in front of her. Between her and the reinforced door. The remaining thermal feed showed only one heat signature now. Moving. Circling. Patient. They are testing the structure, he said quietly. How long until reinforcements? She asked. He checked the comm again. Static. Then? A broken transmission. 5 minutes out terrain delay. 5 minutes. Too long in close quarters combat? The outer corridor sensor alarm shriek. Impact at the secondary entrance. They had found the manual access. Rowan exhaled slowly. They are entering. The word did not carry panic. It carried certainty. He keyed open the internal weapons compartment. Handed her a firearm. She stared at it. You trained for this, he said. Yes. Then remember it. The reinforced door jolted. Metal bending under pressure. He moved closer to her. Lowered his voice. If they breach, you move when I tell you. You are already injured, she said. It is irrelevant. It is not. The door dented inward again. Another impact. Louder. Closer. He did not argue. He did not reassure. He simply leaned closer for half a second. His forehead brushed hers. Just once. Intentional. If I go down, he said quietly, you do not hesitate. Her throat tightened. You are not going down. He did not answer. The door gave. Metal tore inward under forced breach. The first attacker stepped through. Masked. Professional. Rowan fired immediately. Clean shot. Center mass. The man dropped. The second attacker followed faster than expected. Closer range. Gunfire erupted in the small chamber. Deafening. Rowan stepped forward to create angle. The second shooter fired blindly. One round struck Rowan high along the side. Not a graze. A hit. His body jolted backward. But he did not fall. He fired again. The attacker collapsed. Silence exploded into the room. Smoke. Gunpowder. Breathing. Rowan swayed. Then dropped to one knee. Rowan. She was already beside him. He pressed his hand against his side. Blood spread quickly through his shirt. Through and through, he said tightly. Do not assess yourself, she snapped. Reinforcement sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Too late. Always too late. She lowered him carefully to the floor. His breathing was controlled, but shallow. You are not losing consciousness, she said. No. Stay with me. I am. Her hands pressed against the wound. Blood seeped between her fingers. His jaw tightened. Reinforcements delayed, he muttered. Intentional. You mean coordinated, she said. Yes. Distress settled heavily in the air. This was not random escalation. This was targeted correction. And response time had been manipulated. The sirens grew louder. Finally, footsteps pounded outside the broken panic room. Security forces flooded the safe house. Weapons raised. Clearing. Too clean. Too slow. She looked up at them. You are late, she said coldly. One of the agents responded, terrain delay. Rowan's eyes flicked toward the agent. Just for a second. Something dark passed through his expression. He did not speak. But she saw it. He did not believe them. Neither did she. Paramedics pushed inside. Attempted to take over. She did not move her hands immediately. You will not drop him, she said evenly. They reassured her. Professional. Efficient. But distant. They lifted him onto a stretcher. Blood-staining white fabric. He grabbed her wrist as they began moving. Not weak. Firm. You stay visible, he said. She leaned closer. I am not leaving. His grip tightened slightly. Trust no one, he murmured. Then they moved him out. The forest was no longer quiet. Lights flashed between trees. Radios crackled. Agents moved in coordinated patterns. But something was wrong. Too many delays. Too many miscalculations. Too many almost failures. She stepped outside the safe house. The broken glass. The smoke. The blood. Her blood. His blood. The agent approached her again. Miss Vale, we recommend relocation immediately. She stared at him. You recommend better timing, she replied. He did not answer. They loaded Rowan into the medical vehicle. He remained conscious. Barely. As the doors shut, she caught one last look. He did not look afraid. He looked furious. Not at the attackers. At the delay. At the vulnerability. At the system. The convoy pulled away from the forest. Safe house compromise. Trust compromise. Control compromise. Inside the ambulance, Rowan's eyes closed briefly. Not surrender. Just exhaustion finally claiming him. Outside, Serafina followed in the secondary vehicle. Her hands still stained with his blood. And for the first time since this began, her anger was no longer directed at him. It was directed at everyone else. The sirens reached the forest too late. Blue and red lights fractured the mist between the trees. The gunfire had already ended. The panic room door hung twisted on its hinges. Two bodies lay still on the floor. Rowan was on his side. Breathing. Barely. Serafina's hands were still pressed against the wound in his side when the tactical unit entered. Clear, one of them called. Weapons lowered. Too calm. Too controlled. Medical, someone shouted. They rushed forward. Hands replaced hers. Pressure bandage. Stabilization foam. Roman 4 line inserted. She did not step back immediately. Ma'am, we need space. I am not obstructing, she said evenly. You are covered in blood. Yes. Rowan's eyes opened briefly as they rolled him onto the stretcher. Disoriented. Focus. He found her instantly. Status, he muttered. Contained, she replied. His fingers caught her wrist again. Weak this time. Extraction point compromised, he said quietly. I know. Trust no. His voice fractured with pain. The paramedic adjusted his oxygen mask. We are moving, the medic said. They lifted him. His head tilted slightly as they passed under the shattered doorway. She followed without hesitation. Outside, the forest was alive with movement. Agents sweeping the perimeter. Vehicles idling. Floodlights cutting through branches. Too coordinated. Too polished. An agent stepped in front of her. Miss Vale, we need to relocate you separately. No, she said. For security protocol. No. Her voice did not rise. It hardened. I am not being separated from him. The agent hesitated. Then stepped aside. They loaded Rowan into the ambulance. She climbed in before anyone could stop her. The doors slammed shut. The sirens erupted. Inside the ambulance, the world narrowed. White light. Metal interior. The rhythmic wail of emergency response. Rowan drifted in and out of focus. His skin had lost color. His breathing shallow but steady. Blood pressure stabilizing, one medic said. Keep pressure there. Serafina sat near his head. Close enough that he could see her when his eyes opened. You are visible, he murmured again. You are not in control of this vehicle, she replied. His mouth shifted faintly. Not quite a smile. Unacceptable, he muttered. She leaned closer. You will conserve strength, she said. His fingers twitched weakly toward her hand. She let him take it. The grip was fragile now. Nothing like the iron restraint from earlier. You were reckless, he whispered. So were you. Yes. Silence filled the space between siren bursts. The medic glanced between them. You two married? He asked absently. No, she said at the same time Rowan said no. The medic nodded. Could have fooled me. Neither responded. Hospitals were too bright. Too exposed. Too public. The ambulance doors burst open. They moved him quickly. Automatic doors. White corridors. The smell of antiseptic. Doctors spoke in clipped efficiency. Through and through. No organ penetration. Significant blood loss. She walked beside the stretcher the entire way. One nurse attempted to redirect her. Family only beyond this point. He is under my protection, she said evenly. The nurse blinked, then stepped aside. Hours passed in a waiting room that felt designed to dissolve composure. She did not dissolve. She remained upright. Still. When the surgeon returned, his tone was measured. He is stable. Stable again. She nodded. Take me to him. He woke sometime after midnight. The room was dim now. Machines hummed softly. Bandaging wrapped his torso tightly. Pain flared as awareness returned. He assessed automatically. Vitals steady. Roman 4 secure. Restricted movement. Then he turned his head. She was there. Seated in the chair beside the bed. Still in the same clothes. His blood dried along the cuff of her sleeve. You should not be here, he said. You are awake, she replied. That is not my point. I am aware. He tried to sit up. Pain stopped him. You are visible, he said again. We are under private security. Not ours. Her gaze sharpened. I am handling it. That is not your role. She leaned forward slightly. It appears roles have shifted. He stared at her. Agency will assign replacement, he said. I declined. His jaw tightened. You do not have authority. I have leverage. Silence. Heavy. You are not operational, she continued. They cannot remove you without my consent. They can. They will not. He studied her carefully. You are making this personal. It already was. The words settled between them. Sharp. Unavoidable. He looked away first. You require an objective protector, he said quietly. I require you. The room seemed to still. Machines humming. Breath shallow. That is a mistake, he said. Why? Because I am compromised. You are injured. No, he said. I am compromised. Her expression did not waver. Then recover, she replied. You do not understand. Then explain. He looked at her finally. Not guarded. Not composed. Raw. When I thought you were exposed, he said quietly, I did not calculate risk. I reacted. Yes. That is failure. That is human. It is dangerous. She stood slowly, moved closer to the bed. You took a bullet, she said evenly, and you are calling that failure. I allowed proximity to cloud response time. You saved my life. I nearly lost control. You did not. Silence. He closed his eyes briefly. I should be replaced, he said. No. Serafina. The way he said her name now was softer. Less command. More warning. You are not leaving this assignment, she said calmly. It is not your decision. It is. The door opened. 2 agency officials stepped inside. Professional suits. Controlled expressions. Mr. Cade, one said, we will be assigning a temporary replacement while you recover. Rowan did not look at them. He looked at her. Serafina turned slowly. No, she said. The official paused. For operational continuity, I decline the replacement. That is not your call. It is when I am the client. Silence stretched. Your safety is our priority, the official said. Then improve your timing, she replied coldly. The official's jaw tightened. Mr. Cade is emotionally compromised. Rowan's eyes shifted sharply toward them. Serafina did not blink. Then he is more invested than your delay unit, she said. The room went very quiet. The official assessed her. Then Rowan. This is not standard protocol. Neither was the attack, she replied. After a tense moment, the official nodded stiffly. We will revisit this discussion. They exited. The door shut. Silence returned. Rowan looked at her carefully. You should not have done that. Yes, she replied. But I did. He studied her face. You are refusing separation. Yes. Why? Her answer was steady. Because I do not feel safe if you are not in the room. The confession was not dramatic. Not tearful. It was fact. His breath caught slightly. You are making me a vulnerability, he said quietly. You already are. The truth of it settled heavily between them. He looked at her as if trying to decide whether to fight it. Then his hand shifted slightly on the bed. She took it. No hesitation. His fingers tightened around hers. Not possessive. Not commanding. Just real. You are impossible, he murmured. And you are not leaving, she replied. For the first time since the force. He did not argue. The hospital room was too quiet after the agency left. Machines hummed softly. Fluorescent light cast pale shadows across the walls. Rowan released her hand first. Deliberate. Control. You should go home, he said. No. This is not safe. You have said that before. I am not debating. She did not step back. You are injured. Yes. You are medicated. Yes. You are not in command of this conversation. A faint irritation flickered across his face. I am in command of my professional boundaries, he said. Are you? Yes. Then enforce them. He looked at her sharply. She did not move. His voice hardened. You are emotionally compromised. So are you. That is precisely the issue. She folded her arms lightly. You believe distance will restore control. Yes. It will not. You do not know that. I do. Silence. He shifted painfully, trying to sit more upright. She moved instinctively to help him. He caught her wrist before she could. Do not, he said. Do not what? Do not make this worse. Worse than being shot? Worse than attachment. The word landed heavy. You call this attachment? She asked quietly. Yes. And that frightens you? Yes. The honesty did not waver. That is not my responsibility, she said. It becomes your vulnerability. You are not my weakness. His jaw tightened. I am, he said. If they realize I am not objective, they exploit it. They already tried to kill you. They tried to kill you, he corrected sharply. The room felt smaller. Charge. You think leaving fixes that? She asked. Yes. It makes you expendable. It makes you safer. No, she said firmly. It makes me alone. He flinched slightly at that. You are not alone, he said. I am if you walk away. Silence stretched. Thick. He looked at her as if memorizing her face. This is not sustainable, he said quietly. Why? Because I nearly chose you over tactical positioning. You did choose me? Yes. And you are alive. By margin. Her expression sharpened. You call protecting me a mistake? I call losing control a mistake. She stepped closer to the bed. Now there was no distance left. You did not lose control, she said softly. I almost did. But you did not. That is the difference between survival and collapse. She leaned slightly over him. You think kissing me would collapse you? She asked. His breath hitched despite himself. Yes. Why? Because it would not stop there. The truth of that hung between them. Her pulse quickened. Then perhaps it should not, she said. His hand tightened in the sheets. Serafina. The warning was thin now. Fractured. You said I was your vulnerability, she continued. You are. Then stop pretending you are not mine. The words were calm. But they landed like impact. He closed his eyes briefly. As if steadying himself. You do not understand the cost of this, he said quietly. Then show me, she replied. Silence. He opened his eyes. Something had shifted. The restraint that defined him was cracking. You should walk away, he said. No. You will regret it. No. You deserve someone who is not trained to calculate your death. I choose the man who prevents it. That was it. That was the line. He reached for her. Not cautiously. Not professionally. His hand came to the back of her neck. Warm. Firm. Grounding. He pulled her closer. Slowly. Giving her time to stop him. She did not. Their foreheads touched first. Breath mixing. The hospital monitor beeped steadily behind them. You are certain? He murmured. Yes. The word was steady. He kissed her. Not gentle. Not soft. Not tentative. It was restrained hunger finally released. Controlled intensity. Months of proximity. Days of tension. Moments stolen in forests and corridors. Her hand slid against his chest. Careful of his wound. But certain. His fingers tightened slightly at her neck. Deepening. Then? Pain flared along his side. He pulled back sharply. Breathing uneven. She remained close. Eyes searching his. You are injured, she said quietly. I am aware. She brushed her thumb lightly along his jaw. You should rest. You should leave. No. A faint, reluctant breath escaped him. You are impossible, he said. And you are not pushing me away, she replied. Silence softened slightly. Not gone. But change. He looked at her as if recalculating everything. This does not remove the danger, he said. No. It increases it. Yes. And you still choose it. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Then leaned back against the pillow. Exhaustion finally claiming him. She remained standing beside the bed. Her fingers still resting lightly against his shoulder. Outside the hospital window, city lights flickered. Normal. Unaware. Inside the room, something irreversible had happened. Not a moment of weakness. Not a lapse. A choice. Mutual. Deliberate. And far more dangerous than the bullet that nearly ended him. Morning light in a hospital room is unforgiving. It exposes everything. Pale skin. Dark circles. Unsaid things. Serafina had not left. Not when the nurse changed his bandage. Not when the agency called twice. Not when the city outside resumed its indifferent rhythm. Rowan woke slowly. Pain was sharper now that the medication had dulled. But what struck him first was not the pain. It was her. She was seated beside the bed again. Shoes removed. Jacket folded across the chair. Compose. Watching him as if assessing whether he was fully returned. You remained, he said. Yes. You should not have. Yes. The faintest trace of something like amusement flickered in his eyes. You are ignoring professional advice. Yes. Silence. Not strain? Just aware. The memory of the kiss lingered between them. Not awkward. Not regretted. Real. You will be discharged within 48 hours, she said. You spoke to the surgeon. Yes. You are assuming I will return to assignment. You will. That is not guaranteed. It is, she replied calmly. He studied her. You are confident. Yes. Why? Because you do not know how to stop protecting me. The truth of it softened something in him. He looked at his bandaged side. Then back at her. And you do not know how to walk away, he said. No. Silence again. He shifted slightly. Pain tightened across his ribs. She rose instinctively to adjust the pillow behind him. This time he did not stop her. Her fingers brushed his shoulder. Gentler than before. Slower. The air felt different now. Less explosive. More intimate. You were serious, he said quietly. About what? Choosing this. Yes. You understand it complicates everything. Yes. And you still? Yes. He exhaled slowly. You are reckless. So are you. He watched her carefully. Do you regret it? He asked. She did not hesitate. No. Neither did he. Neither do I, he said. The simplicity of that admission carried more weight than any declaration. Later that afternoon, the agency attempted to limit her access. Visitation hours. Security concerns. She ignored them. Rowan noticed. You are escalating tension with them, he said. Yes. That is unwise. I am not negotiating over you. He looked at her differently then. Not as a client. Not as a responsibility. As a partner in conflict. You are not accustomed to sharing authority, he observed. I am not accustomed to sharing vulnerability, she replied. He reached for her hand this time. Not weakly. Not cautiously. Just deliberately. She let him. Their fingers intertwined. Not hidden. Not defensive. Open. You realize this changes how I protect you, he said. How? I am no longer only protecting a client. Good, she replied. Because I am no longer only tolerating a bodyguard. The faintest hint of a smile curved his mouth. You tolerated me? Yes. And now? She leaned slightly closer. Now I choose you. The words were quiet. But absolute? His gaze darkened slightly. Say it again, he murmured. I choose you. There was no hesitation. No pride. Just truth. He pulled her gently closer. Careful of his wound. Their foreheads touched. The second kiss was slower. Less explosive. More certain. No interruption. No alarms. Just breathe and intention. When they separated, he rested his forehead against hers for a moment longer. This does not make you less guarded, he said softly. It makes me more honest. And if I fail? You will not. And if I do? She did not flinch. Then we face it together. The word together settled deeply. He had operated alone for years. Assignments. Perimeters. Targets. Now, there was someone choosing to stand beside him. Not behind him. Beside him. You understand that I will still stand between you and danger, he said? Yes. But now you will stand between me and retreat. She met his gaze evenly. Yes. He exhaled. A quiet surrender. Not of strength, but of isolation. That night she remained again. Not out of obligation. Out of choice. He slept more deeply. Pain medication and exhaustion finally easing his guard. Her hand remained loosely in his. Not to restrain him. Not to anchor herself. Just because neither wanted to let go. Outside the hospital window, the city moved. Unaware. Inside, something steady had formed. Not frantic. Not fragile. Deliberate. Two people who had spent weeks circling tension. Finally standing still inside it. Recovery changed the rhythm of everything. Rowan did not return to standing watch immediately. For the first time since Serafina had known him, he was still. Not alert at a window. Not scanning entrances. Not calculating threat angles. Still. The hospital room became something else entirely in those days. Not sterile. Not temporary. Something shared. Morning light spilled softly through half-closed blinds. Serafina arrived before the nurses. Every day. Without announcement. Without explanation. She learned the small routines of recovery. When his medication made him quiet. When pain sharpened behind his ribs. When he pretended discomfort did not exist. She adjusted things without asking. The angle of the bed. The water glass within reach. The temperature of the room. He noticed everything. He said nothing. On the third morning, she found him already awake. Not watching the door. Watching her. You walk more quietly when you are thinking, he said. She paused halfway into the room. I was not aware I was being observed. I observe everything. A faint pause. Except rest, she replied. He almost smiled. She placed a cup of coffee beside him. He did not reach for it immediately. Instead, he asked quietly, why do you stay? The question held no challenge. Only curiosity. She took the chair beside the bed. Because you do not know how to be still, she said. And you do? No. Silence. Soft. Easy. But I am learning, she added. He studied her face carefully. As am I, he said. Recovery made touch inevitable. But not urgent. Not intense. Just present. When he shifted and pain tightened across his side, her hand found his shoulder. Steady pressure. Grounding. When she leaned over to adjust his bandage, his fingers rested lightly at her wrist. Not to stop her. To feel her there. Neither commented. Neither pulled away quickly anymore. The distance they once guarded so fiercely had dissolved into something quieter. One afternoon, rain fell against the hospital windows. Soft, continuous. The room dimmed into a gentle gray. Serafina stood by the glass, watching the city blur beneath the storm. Rowan watched her instead. You are quieter here, he said. She did not turn. There is less to manage. And yet you remain alert. Yes. A pause. He shifted slightly, wincing. She turned immediately. Crossed the room. Adjusted his pillow with careful precision. He watched her hands. Slow, deliberate. You do that instinctively now, he said. What? Care for me. She met his gaze. You care for me constantly. Yes. This is equilibrium. Something softened in his expression. Equilibrium. He had never experienced protection that moved in both directions. That evening, the lights dimmed automatically. Visiting hours ended. But no one asked her to leave anymore. The staff had stopped trying. She sat on the edge of the bed while reviewing messages on her phone. Rowan's hand rested beside hers. Close. Not touching. After a moment his fingers shifted. Lightly brushing the side of her hand. A question without words. She turned her palm upward. Accept it. Their fingers intertwined slowly. No urgency. Just warmth. I did not realize how loud constant vigilance is, he murmured. She looked at him. And now? Now I notice silence. Does it trouble you? He thought for a long moment. No, he said. It feels unfamiliar. She leaned slightly closer. Does unfamiliar feel unsafe? His thumb moved gently against her knuckles. No, he said quietly. It feels peaceful. Later, when sleep came for him, it came deeply. Without tension in his shoulders. Without shallow breath. Without half-alert awareness. Serafina remained seated beside him. Her hands still loosely held in his. Watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. For the first time since the gala. He looked unguarded. Not vulnerable. Just resting. She did not move her hand away. Even after he slept. Even after the rain stopped. Even after the city lights flickered on one by one. Near midnight, he stirred slightly. Eyes opening just enough to find her. You are still here, he murmured. Yes. He shifted his hand, tightening his hold gently. Stay. It was not command. Not request. Just truth. She leaned closer. I am not going anywhere. His breathing steadied again. Sleep reclaimed him. Her thumb moved slowly across the back of his hand. Small motion. Rhythmic. Comforting. The kind of touch that did not demand. Did not ignite. Did not consume. It simply existed. Outside, the world continued. Threats still moved somewhere unseen. Agencies still calculated risks. But inside that quiet hospital room, nothing needed defending. Nothing needed resisting. Two people who had lived in tension and control were learning something far more difficult. How to be gentle. Together. When the world goes quiet. Night settled slowly over the hospital. The hallway lights dimmed to a softer glow. Footsteps became less frequent. Voices lowered into murmurs behind distant doors. The world outside the window shimmered with scattered city lights, small and far away, like something unreal. Inside the room, everything felt contained. Still. Safe. Rowan had been restless all evening. Not in pain. Not uncomfortable. Just awake. Recovery required stillness. Stillness was not something he trusted easily. Serafina noticed long before he spoke. She was seated beside the bed, reading something on her tablet, legs tucked beneath her, posture relaxed in a way that would have shocked anyone who knew her publicly. Without looking up, she said quietly, "You are thinking too loudly." He turned his head slightly. "Is that measurable?" "Yes." "How?" "You keep adjusting your breathing as if anticipating movement." He watched her for a moment. "You notice everything?" "Yes." A pause. Then he said softly, "I do not know what to do with quiet." She set the tablet aside. Folded her hands loosely in her lap. "Then do nothing," she said. "That feels unproductive." "That is the point." Silence settled between them. Gentle. Unforced. After a few minutes, he shifted carefully. The motion was slow, cautious of his injury. She noticed immediately. "What do you need?" she asked. "Nothing." "That is not an answer." He hesitated. Then said quietly, "Stay closer." The words were simple. But they carried weight. She rose without comment. Moved to the edge of the bed. Sat carefully beside him. Close enough that their shoulders almost touched. He exhaled slowly. Some tension left his posture. The room darkened further as the automatic lights lowered for night mode. Only a warm amber glow remained near the monitors. Soft. Quiet. Intimate. Outside, faint rain began again. Light against the glass. Steady. Soothing. Serafina leaned back slightly against the headboard beside him. He watched the movement. Measured the closeness. Then slowly, carefully, he shifted toward her. Rested his head lightly against her shoulder. The motion was hesitant. Not possessive. Not seeking control. Seeking support. She did not freeze. She did not react dramatically. She simply adjusted slightly to make space for him. Her shoulder steady. Warm. Accepting. His breathing slowed almost immediately. Neither spoke for a long time. The quiet felt full. His hand rested near her thigh on the blanket. Not touching. Just near. After several minutes her fingers moved slowly. Covered his hand. Not gripping. Just resting over it. He turned his palm upward beneath hers. Their fingers slid together naturally. No urgency. No tension. Just warmth. You are comfortable like this? He murmured. Yes. You are not restricted? No. A pause. Then he said softly. I have not leaned on anyone in years. She turned her head slightly toward him. You are not leaning, she said. You are resting. He absorbed that. The difference mattered. Rain deepened against the window. Steady rhythm. Like breathing. Serafina's fingers moved slowly through his hair. Not deliberate at first. Just instinct. Gentle. Careful of movement near his wound. He stilled completely. Every muscle releasing one by one. You are doing that intentionally, he murmured. Yes. Why? Because it calms you. Silence. Then very quietly. It does. Time passed without measurement. No conversation needed filling the space. Just warmth. Shared breath. The quiet closeness of two people who had stopped guarding every inch of distance. Eventually he shifted slightly. Lifted his head. Turned toward her. Close now. Very close. But not intense. Not charged. Just soft awareness. You are tired, he said. No. Yes. A faint hint of a smile touched her mouth. Then stay until I am, she said. He studied her face. Carefully. Memorizing something unspoken. Then he lifted his hand. Brushed a loose strand of hair from her cheek. Slow. Gentle. His fingertips lingered just a second longer than necessary. She did not move away. He leaned forward slightly. Their foreheads touched. Warm skin. Shared breath. A quiet kiss followed. Soft. Unhurried. Nothing like before. No tension release. No urgency. Just reassurance. When he pulled back, he did not move far. Their faces remained close. You make stillness feel safe, he murmured. She answered softly. You make silence feel full. Later, when sleep finally came for him, it came naturally. His head returned to her shoulder. Her hand remained in his. Her other hand resting lightly over his chest, feeling the slow rhythm of his breathing. The hospital room held them gently in the dim amber light. No alarms. No urgency. No threat. Just quiet. Just closeness. Just two people learning that peace can be shared, not guarded. When the world goes quiet. Night settled slowly over the hospital. The hallway lights dimmed to a softer glow. Footsteps became less frequent. Voices lowered into murmurs behind distant doors. The world outside the window shimmered with scattered city light, small and far away, like something unreal. Inside the room, everything felt contained. Still. Safe. Rowan had been restless all evening. Not in pain. Not uncomfortable. Just awake. Recovery required stillness. Stillness was not something he trusted easily. Serafina noticed long before he spoke. She was seated beside the bed, reading something on her tablet, legs tucked beneath her, posture relaxed in a way that would have shocked anyone who knew her publicly. Without looking up, she said quietly, You are thinking too loudly. He turned his head slightly. Is that measurable? Yes. How? You keep adjusting your breathing as if anticipating movement. He watched her for a moment. You notice everything. Yes. A pause. Then he said softly, I do not know what to do with quiet. She set the tablet aside. Folded her hands loosely in her lap. Then do nothing, she said. That feels unproductive. That is the point. Silence settled between them. gentle, unforced. After a few minutes, he shifted carefully. The motion was slow, cautious of his injury. She noticed immediately. "What do you need?" she asked. "Nothing." That is not an answer. He hesitated. Then said quietly, "Stay closer." The words were simple, but they carried weight. She rose without comment, moved to the edge of the bed, sat carefully beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. He exhaled slowly. Some tension left his posture. The room darkened further as the automatic lights lowered for night mode. Only a warm amber glow remained near the monitors. Soft, quiet, intimate. Outside, faint rain began again. Light against the glass. Steady. Soothing. Serafina leaned back slightly against the headboard beside him. He watched the movement. Measured the closeness. Then slowly, carefully he shifted toward her. Rested his head lightly against her shoulder. The motion was hesitant. Not possessive. Not seeking control. Seeking support. She did not freeze. She did not react dramatically. She simply adjusted slightly to make space for him. Her shoulder steady. Warm. Accepting. His breathing slowed almost immediately. Neither spoke for a long time. The quiet fell full. His hand rested near her thigh on the blanket. Not touching. Just near. After several minutes her fingers moved slowly. Covered his hand. Not gripping. Just resting over it. He turned his palm upward beneath hers. Their fingers slid together naturally. No urgency. No tension. Just warmth. "You are comfortable like this?" he murmured. "Yes." "You are not restricted?" "No." A pause. Then he said softly, "I have not leaned on anyone in years." She turned her head slightly toward him. "You are not leaning," she said. "You are resting." He absorbed that. The difference mattered. Rain deepened against the window. Steady rhythm. Like breathing. Serafina's fingers moved slowly through his hair. Not deliberate at first. Just instinct. Gentle. Careful of movement near his wound. He stilled completely. Every muscle releasing one by one. "You are doing that intentionally," he murmured. "Yes." "Why?" "Because it calms you." Silence. Then very quietly, "It does." Time passed without measurement. No conversation needed filling the space. Just warmth. Shared breath. The quiet closeness of two people who had stopped guarding every inch of distance. Eventually he shifted slightly. Lifted his head. Turned toward her. Close now. Very close. But not intense. Not charged. Just soft awareness. "You are tired," he said. "No." "Yes." A faint hint of a smile touched her mouth. "Then stay until I am," she said. He studied her face. Carefully. Memorizing something unspoken. Then he lifted his hand. Brushed a loose strand of hair from her cheek. Slow. Gentle. His fingertips lingered just a second longer than necessary. She did not move away. He leaned forward slightly. Their foreheads touched. Warm skin. Shared breath. A quiet kiss followed. Soft. Unhurried. Nothing like before. No tension release. No urgency. Just reassurance. When he pulled back, he did not move far. Their faces remained close. "You make stillness feel safe," he murmured. She answered softly. "You make silence feel full." Later, when sleep finally came for him, it came naturally. His head returned to her shoulder. Her hand remained in his. Her other hand resting lightly over his chest, feeling the slow rhythm of his breathing. The hospital room held them gently in the dim amber light. No alarms. No urgency. No threat. Just quiet. Just closeness. Just two people learning that peace can be shared, not guarded. Hospitals always feel temporary. Even when days stretch longer than expected. Rowan stood for the first time without assistance 3 days later. Slow, careful, measured. Serafina remained close but did not hover. He noticed that. You are restraining yourself, he said. Yes. Why? You dislike being monitored. I dislike being underestimated. She allowed the faintest hint of a smile. I am not underestimating you. He took another slow step. Pain tightened along his ribs. He did not react visibly. But she saw it. You will not pretend recovery is immediate, she said. I will not pretend weakness, he corrected. She moved closer. Not to catch him. Just near enough. Strength includes recovery, she replied. He looked at her carefully. You are learning language I respect, he said. And you are learning stillness. He did not deny that. The agency arrived that afternoon. Professional. Polish. Control. They informed Rowan that the internal review had identified operational delay due to corrupted dispatch routing. No external confirmation. No public scandal. Quiet correction. Serafina listened without interruption. Rowan listened without visible reaction. When the officials left, the room felt lighter. They are containing it, she said. Yes. You do not trust them. No. Will you return? He looked at the city skyline through the hospital window. Long silence. No. The word landed gently. Not dramatic. Not bitter. Just decided. You are certain, she said. Yes. You are not leaving because you are compromised. No. Then why? He turned toward her fully. Because I do not want to protect you from a distance. The simplicity of that truth settled between them. She nodded once. Then do not. 2 days later, he was discharged. No press. No announcement. A private car waited. She insisted he come to her estate first. For recovery. Not duty. He did not argue. The gates opened as they returned. The same estate where their tension had first sparked. It felt different now. Less adversarial. Less sharp. Inside, the marble floors reflected afternoon light. He paused in the foyer, instinctively scanning exits. Then he stopped himself. She noticed? You are not on assignment, she said quietly. I am aware. You may stand beside me. He stepped forward. Not ahead. Beside. The change was subtle, but complete. That evening, they stood together on the balcony where their rivalry had once burned hot. The city lights shimmered below. Wind moved gently around them. No distance now. No rigid 3 steps. His hand rested lightly at the small of her back. Not protective. Not possessive. Present. You were correct, he said quietly. About what? Silence can be clarifying. She leaned slightly into him. And I no longer feel the need to fill it with vigilance. She looked at him. You are not guarding. No. What are you doing? He met her gaze. Staying. The estate no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like a home. The difference was subtle, but undeniable. There were still cameras. Still gates. Still security. But Rowan was no longer stationed at them. He was inside. Present. Human. Morning light filtered through tall windows in the east wing. Serafina was already awake when she heard movement in the kitchen. Not hurried. Not tactical. Uncomplicated. She walked downstairs barefoot. Found him leaning against the counter. One hand resting near a coffee mug. Not scanning exits. Not checking feeds. Just standing. You are upright early, she said. He turned slightly. I slept. You usually wake before sunrise. I did not need to. She stepped closer. Not careful. Not measured. Just close. Are you restless? She asked. No. And you are not searching for threats? No. A pause. I am adjusting. She reached for the second mug he had poured. You look lighter, she said. I am carrying less. The words held weight. Not traumatic. True. Recovery at the estate was slower than he preferred. He walked the gardens daily. Measured pace. No weapons. No earpiece. Serafina often joined him. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they did not. The silence no longer felt charged. It felt shared. One afternoon, as they crossed the stone path near the fountain, he stopped. Not from pain. From observation. You do not look over your shoulder anymore, he said. I do not feel alone, she replied. He studied her. And if I step away? You will not. Hypothetically. She tilted her head slightly. Then I would still feel chosen. The word lingered. Chosen. Not guarded. Not a sign. Chosen. He reached for her hand. Interlaced their fingers. Deliberate. No urgency. I have spent years believing proximity created weakness, he said. And now? Now I believe distance creates it. She squeezed his hand lightly. You are not weak, she said. I am not alone, he corrected. Evenings became their quiet ritual. The balcony. Soft city light below. Wind brushing gently against silk and linen. No raised voices now. No argument over distance. He stood close enough that their shoulders touched. Not because he feared losing her. Because he liked being near her. You once defined immediate as 1 second, she said quietly. Yes. What is immediate now? He thought for a moment. Immediate is knowing I am exactly where I want to be. Her breath slowed. You are certain? Yes. You are not staying out of obligation. No. You are not staying because you were shot. No. Then why? He turned toward her fully. Not guarded. Not calculating. Because I would not know how to leave. The honesty was simple. Unpolished. Real. She stepped closer. Rested her palm over his heart. Not checking. Just feeling. You are no longer my bodyguard, she said softly. No. What are you? He did not hesitate. Yours. No possessiveness. No dominance. Just belonging. Her hand slid gently to his collar. She kissed him slowly. Not heated. Not desperate. Certain. The kind of kiss that did not need interruption to feel intense. When they separated, neither stepped away. The city lights flickered below like distant stars. And for the first time since the gala, there were no invisible perimeters between them. No professional lines. No controlled distance. Just two people standing still. Together. Valentine's returned quietly. No gala this time. No orchestra. No crowded ballroom. Serafina had declined every invitation. The estate was calm. Candles lined the long dining table. Soft music played low in the background. The city light shimmered beyond tall glass doors. It was intentional. Private. Not a spectacle. Rowan stood near the balcony doors at first. Old habits softened but not erased. She watched him for a moment. You are standing guard, she said lightly. He turned. No. You are near the exit. Yes. A faint pause. Come here, she said. He did. No hesitation. No scanning the perimeter before moving. He crossed the room and stood directly in front of her. Not ahead. Not behind. With her. Dinner was simple. Uncomplicated. They spoke about nothing urgent. The garden. The foundation expansion. A book she had started reading. Ordinary things. Peaceful things. At one point she studied him quietly. You are different, she said. Yes. You move without calculation now. Not entirely. Enough. He leaned back slightly in his chair. Do you miss it? He asked. What? The tension. She considered the question. No. Not even a little? No. He nodded once. Good. Later, they stepped onto the balcony together. The same balcony where rivalry once sharpened every word. Now the air felt warmer. Open. She rested her hands on the railing. He stood close beside her. Wind moved softly through her hair. Without thinking, he brushed a strand away from her face. The gesture was automatic now. Not restrained. She turned slightly toward him. 1 year ago she said, I resented you. I am aware. You stood 3 steps away from me at all times. Yes. And I hated it. You informed me. She smiled faintly. And now? He looked at her carefully. And now I do not know how I stood that far away. Silence settled. Comfortable. Unthreatened. You were hired to protect my life, she said softly. Yes. And somewhere along the way you protected more than that. His hand moved to rest at her waist. Not protective. Grounded. I was not hired to guard your heart, he said. No. But I intend to. Her breath slowed. You are not obligated. I am not obligated. Then why? He stepped closer. Close enough that the city below blurred into background light. Because I choose to stay, he said. The words were simple. Steady. Unbreakable. She placed her palm over his chest again, where the scar remained beneath fabric. You were almost taken from me, she said. Yes. And yet you remained. Yes. You could leave tomorrow. Yes. You will not. No. That was it. No grand declaration. No kneeling vow. Just certainty. She leaned up and kissed him slowly. Not as a test. Not as challenge. As promise. His hand moved to the back of her neck. Gentle. Steady. When they separated, he rested his forehead against hers. You are not alone, he said. And you are not guarding, she replied. No. What are you doing? He smiled faintly. Living. Later that night, the estate lights dimmed. No alarms sounded. No perimeter breaches flickered on screens. Rowan stood once more by the bedroom window. Out of habit. Out of instinct. Then he stopped himself. He turned away from the glass. Walked back to her. Slid into bed beside her without hesitation. No distance between them. No professional boundary to maintain. She curled slightly into him. His arm wrapped around her naturally. Not shielding. Holding. Outside, the world continued. Danger would always exist somewhere. But inside that room, there were no contracts. No assignments. No lines to guard. Only choice. He was hired to protect her life. But in the end, he stayed to protect her heart. And she let him.